Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the for climate hack. Thank you, Mr. Maestro. I'm really glad to invite Mr. Grameno Mastroianni, Deputy Secretary General, for his welcoming remarks.
Good afternoon, Excellencies, dear colleagues. Normally, welcoming remarks means we are so honored and blah, blah, blah. Please give me 5 minutes to tell two tales of global approaches and then compare them with a local approach. At the scope, people say we have to diminish dependence on fossil fuels. And so you think about global interdictions, global market approaches, whatever you want. But if the demand, which is the sovereign of the market, for fossil fuels remains there, I don't think that a lot will be achieved. And then we talk about circular economy. Again, there are some global technological approaches. Take this bottle, you can transform it into a jumper, a pullover, which means transforming a harmful piece of plastic, which is still manageable, into a more harmful microfiber, which is not manageable at all. When we think global, there are some things that have to be faced in a global perspective. But the problem is that we live on a planet which is not uniform. Every territory expresses its own potential and its own fragilities. And this is why we cannot cultivate the illusion that we can overcome this crisis just with big decisions at the global level. So there is circularity, there is fossil fuels. Let us think about our cities, those cities which are conceived in a way that obliges each one of us to take the car and go to work, then spend some hours in the traffic, be back to our families where we're stressed, where we don't have time to have our loved ones experience something basic like a good meal. The only thing that remains to us, the only choice is to drop by very quickly at the supermarket and buy something in a plastic box that has been pre-cooked. How can we face that? Well, let us imagine the circularity that goes way beyond the problem of waste that characterizes our world. What if we decided to solve fossil fuels starting from a value which is fundamental for us, which is health? Then let us start with one very simple thing, a healthy diet. A healthy diet means less meat, we all know that, but it basically means that you have to eat what is expressed by your territory, because we co-evolve with that territory. And if you want to be in good health, you have to eat what your territory spontaneously gives you there. We can be passionate about goji berries somewhere far away from the Himalaya, but those goji berries, for those who are not living in the Himalaya, are not providing any benefit. Things like that. So it means that if you want to be healthy, one of the many things you could do is try to eat better. And eat better means eating local. But if you start eating local, it means that you revitalize the rural circuit around your city. You free them from the absolute dependence on global buyers, which will impose a price that obliges them to use fertilizers and pay the workers in a terrible manner. First, that it means that you will have less transportation, which is less fossil fuels, but it also means that you will start reshaping your city. Because if you start having a bigger proportion of healthy local food, but we could say the same thing about textiles and many other things, it means that those cities which are shaped like there is a place where I live, there is a place where I produce, and there is a place where I buy, and I have to move among those three places by car, then the city starts to change, and change in a strange way. It goes back to what it used to be. If you are relying on local expression of your territory, it means that all this difference starts to mix down again, and you will have again in your neighborhoods local commerce. It starts with the food, then it becomes the tailor, and then it becomes the guy who mends your cupboard. So we could develop a lot, but I think this is just an example. I think that you understand what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that if you don't take those very nice global decisions as an opportunity to make them a transformation at the local level, we're actually achieving strictly nothing. Sustainability has its own spatial container, a natural spatial container, which is called a concrete territory. What is a concrete territory? Is a place where a certain kind of ecosystem has contributed to shape a certain way of living, a certain culture. They cannot be measured in average kilometers. If you take the Midwest in the United States, it is indeed a concrete territory. They have a lot in common, although we are talking about millions of square kilometers. If you go to Europe or Morocco, a concrete space could be 200 square meters because it's the only place where they grow that vine that will make that particular wine, etc. So this idea that the cops can solve the problem with a one-size-fits-them-all decision is pure illusion. It all has to be transferred to the local level, knowing a couple more things. If we go back to the local level, we also discover something that we have forgotten with our new economies. That is that Mother Nature is fair. Environmental degradation is not the fruit of development. Environmental degradation comes with unfair development. It comes with a mode of production that at the beginning made us very happy because it yielded a lot of quantity, but it also uniformizes everything. And so it builds poles of rich and poles of poor people. If you look at Mother Earth, what we have is a planet where if you don't have the sun, you have the wind. And if you don't have the wind, you have the waves. If you don't have the cows, you have the camels. Yes, there are more or less generous territories, but we are in a place where the possibility of living decently and of contributing to the global community with your diversity rather than with the quantity of your uniformity is there. What it means is that it goes way beyond administrative solutions or superficial reasoning. Once we go back to the reality of a planet that has this patchwork richness and its diversity, we are at the same time on the way of solving fossil fuel, circular economy, but above all, we go back to the roots of all the problems that we're facing today. If we focus the local dimension and valorize it, actually we will turn a productive but unfair economy into a just economy, which is the basis of a protected environment. Thank you very much, and I really hope, wish the best for your panel.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mastroianni. I'm pleased to hand the floor over to Ms. Tatiana Ema, our UNEMAP coordinator. She's attending remotely. Tatiana, can you hear us?
Yes, I hear you. Thank you very much, and thank you very much for the invitation and for organizing this very interesting side event. Dear Minister, dear Deputy Secretary General of UFM, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining UNEP-MAP today as we delve into the pressing challenges and opportunities surrounding the transition to a circular economy and its pivotal role in mitigating the impact of climate change, particularly in the Mediterranean region. Climate change impacts are not uniform. They are cumulative and disproportionately affect various groups, classes, and population. The Mediterranean region is already grappling with disruption in natural resources, compromised supply chains, food insecurity, climate-induced migration, and escalating social and political tensions. Our gathering today is an opportunity to discuss the critical implication of transitioning to a circular economy. The UNEP-MAP Regional Activity Center for Sustainable Consumption and Production, MedWaves, embarked on a comprehensive exploration of circular economy and sustainable business models. This endeavor illuminates key facets that can profoundly shape our own future. The transition from a linear to a circular economy marks a seismic shift in our approach to production and consumption. However, this transformative shift carries strong social and environmental implications, necessitating meticulous planning, coordination, and coherent governance at all levels. This shift is not just a theoretical proposition. It is pressing and urgent. Despite the potential of the circular economy to drive systemic decarbonization across sectors, the global economy remains only 7.2% circular, so it's very low. This alarming figure underscores the urgency for policymakers to fully comprehend the impact and benefits of circular economy strategies in the broader context of climate change mitigation. Circular economy holds immense promise. It can be a powerful force in mitigating climate change, fostering economic growth, and promoting sustainability. However, achieving a successful transition demands a collaborative effort from stakeholders, supportive policies, and a comprehensive understanding of the intricate dynamics involved. The UNEP-MAP Barcelona Convention stands as a promising regulatory platform for transformative policy and regulatory development. Within this framework, the UNEP-MAP and Barcelona Convention system and its component, mainly the regional activity centers, with a particular focus of the MedWave, work towards a climate-resilient Mediterranean, aligning with the key objectives of the UNEP-MAP strategy, midterm strategy, that was adopted in Antalya at the last meeting of the contracting parties in Turkey in 2022. UNEP-MAP supports this effort through its plural and multi-layered governance mechanism. In a landmark decision during the 22nd Conference of the Parties of the Barcelona Convention, as I just mentioned in Antalya, our contracting parties, 21 Mediterranean countries and the European Union, adopted the regional policy measures to support the development of green and circular businesses and strengthen the demand for sustainable products. This decision emphasizes the assessment of key climate hotspots and encourages eco-innovative production and consumption alternatives. Recognizing the backbone role of small and medium-sized enterprises in the Mediterranean economy, this decision calls on all contracting parties to the Barcelona Convention to catalyze entrepreneurial action and boost the role of small-medium enterprises in adopting eco-innovative practices. As we stand on the eve of the 23rd Conference of the Parties of the Barcelona Convention, scheduled next week in Slovenia, UNEP-MAP Barcelona Convention system and UNEP-MAP components are preparing an ambitious plan of work. This plan aims to lead a sustainable transformative agenda in the Mediterranean, also addressing challenges faced by small and medium enterprises, emphasizing the need for supportive policies and ensuring access to sustainable finance. At the next meeting of the contracting parties, we plan and we expect to receive a strong mandate by our contracting parties for the revision of the Mediterranean strategy for sustainable development that we expect to address circular economy in a very emphasized way. UNEP MAP has embarked on a transformative journey towards a circular and green economy. This journey not only mitigates climate change, but also envisions a just and sustainable future for all. It requires our collective commitment, collaboration, and a shared vision for a resilient and thriving Mediterranean region. And at the next meeting of the contracting parties in Slovenia next week, we also expect to discuss at ministerial level switch to the green for the Mediterranean from decision and action. And I'm very confident that the deliberation of the ministerial discussion that will be strictly incorporated in the draft ministerial declaration of the Portoro's contracting parties to be held next week will be also clear direction for all of us on how to do better to shift to green and to promote more the circular economy. I thank you for your attention and dedication to shaping a sustainable future and have a very nice and effective side event that would show the Mediterranean effort from all our organizations, from all our stakeholders in mitigating climate change in the region. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Emma. I'm now honored to invite Mr. David Mascotti Subiranas for his welcoming remark. Please use your headset, the one you have on your chair, on channel 1 to listen to English.
Moltes gràcies. Bona tarda a tots i totes. Gràcies als dos ponents que m'han precedit, dels quals recullo unes quantes idees i que segurament hauria de canviar tot el meu discurs per parlar-ne. És evident que els efectes del canvi climàtic ja els sentim en primera persona avui. Als nostres països, a les nostres societats, han tingut aquest estiu, per exemple, 45 graus i mig, 45,4, rècord de temperatura al nostre país, a una ciutat de l'Alt Empordà, de Figueres. La mar Mediterrània ha arribat a 31 graus aquest any, cosa que no havia passat mai, o tenim la sequera més dura dels darrers 110 anys des que tenim dades al nostre país. Per tant, és evident que és l'hora de passar a l'acció i és evident que ho hem de fer plegats. I una de les actuacions imprescindibles que hem de fer és canviar el nostre model econòmic. Hem de traspassar els límits coneguts fins ara i passar de l'economia lineal a l'economia circular en tots els aspectes de les nostres activitats. Catalunya va ser pionera fa 20 anys amb el que en dèiem la llei de residus, és a dir, què fem amb els residus del nostre país. Ara estem preparant la nova llei, 20 anys després, i no només hem de ser pioners, sinó que hem de ser valents i agosarats. De fet, ja no es dirà la llei de residus, sinó que es dirà la llei de recursos, de com aprofitar tots els recursos que generem en la nostra economia, perquè amb l'objectiu de caminar cap al residu zero, sapiguem treure profit de tot allò que generem que no ho podem llançar perquè els recursos als quals tenim accés són cada vegada més finits. Aquest canvi, aquesta manera diferent de veure les coses no només canvia els nostres processos de producció o la nostra forma de consumir, sinó que, evidentment, canviarà la nostra manera de viure. I és un enfocament del sistema que no podem fer les administracions sols, sinó que hem de fer tots plegats, el conjunt de la societat, el conjunt de les activitats econòmiques. De fet, hem de ser prou agosarats com per fer-ho, si cal, per sectors concrets. Al nostre país hem articulat ja el Pacte Circular de la Moda, per exemple, o l'Observatori de l'Economia Circular, per exemple. Dos bons exemples de com hem de ser capaços de canviar aquesta manera de veure les coses. Hem de ser capaços de co-crear aquest nou marc normatiu, aquests també marc d'incentius econòmics que generin un impuls suficient com per canviar, transformar el nostre sistema productiu. Però és evident que això no ho podem fer sols, ho hem de fer en el marc de les relacions interregionals que tenim. Hem de ser capaços, en fòrums com aquest, prendre decisions prou valentes com per impulsar aquests canvis arreu. El que necessitem són aquests processos de transformació que consoliden a nivell regional aquests canvis. De fet, el nostre país ha aprovat fa poc l'estratègia de la bioeconomia, basada sobretot en l'aprofitament dels recursos del sector primari, forestals, agrícoles, etc. En molts casos un problema per al propi sector primari i que hem estat capaços de veure com una oportunitat que genera no només sostenibilitat ambiental, que sí, que aprofitem tots aquests recursos que fins ara no només no es feien servir, sinó que ens generaven problemes, per exemple, en els aqüífers del nostre país o en la pròpia gestió forestal, sinó que també les dues excepcions que acompanyen sempre l'ambiental, la social i la territorial, perquè al final acaben donant més oportunitats en aquest territori rural del qual parlava el senyor Mastrojani, oportunitat en el nostre món rural, en els nostres pobles i ciutats, oportunitats d'activitat, oportunitats de vida, en definitiva, perquè si no som capaços de transformar també aquesta forma de treballar en els nostres pobles i ciutats, en el nostre territori més rural, més agrícola, acabarem abandonant aquests territoris i, per tant, deixarem de ser el país que som, contribuint també a aquest equilibri territorial, social i econòmic, per tant, generant més oportunitats, però també a la sobirania alimentària, perquè no deixem de conrear tots aquests camps amb productes que és evident que per culpa del canvi climàtic haurem de fer front a diferents mesures d'adaptació, sigui en la forma de conrear, sigui en els cultius que fem. I és evident que en aquest sentit, en el que entenem com a economia circular, Catalunya fa temps, des del primer moment que hem donat suport al resultat de la Convenció de Barcelona, també a la d'Estocolm, i és evident que aquest compromís també es manifesta amb el suport a Midwaves, una organització que fa una feina ingent en aquest camp, un actor, creiem que clau per Catalunya, per recolzar la visibilitat i la internacionalització d'aquests sectors, d'aquestes empreses, d'aquestes iniciatives públiques que s'especialitzen en l'ecoinnovació, en l'economia circular, en l'ecodisseny, en diferents formes que transformen la nostra manera d'entendre la nostra vida, la nostra manera de produir i de consumir i, per tant, que afecten cada dia els nostres ciutadans. En l'àmbit d'aquesta regió mediterrània, que no és única d'Europa, sinó que en el conjunt del món, del planeta, tenim diferents regions que tenen les mateixes característiques i, per tant, també els mateixos problemes i que estan buscant solucions similars, en molts casos, als mateixos problemes, segur que serem capaços de trobar accions a fer imminents, molt ràpides, per avançar-nos al gran objectiu d'adaptar-nos, també mitigar, però sobretot adaptar-nos a les noves situacions provocades per aquest canvi climàtic. Darrere aquests èxits del Midwave hi ha un equip multidisciplinar al qual el govern de la Generalitat dona suport i que pensem que és imprescindible que organitzacions com aquesta segueixin, doncs, per exemple, fent esdeveniments com el d'avui que ens permeten posar en comú totes aquestes qüestions a diferents regions del món que tenim problemàtiques molt semblants. Res més, gràcies, felicitats i ara segur que ens il·lustraran els experts amb algunes dades més. Gràcies.
Thank you very much. I'd like to invite you to take a seat for the following part of this brief panel. Good afternoon again. My name is Alessandro Mirai. I'm the team leader of the Networking Partnership and Communication Facility at Medways. I would like also to extend a warm welcome to each of you as we gather today under the banner of Circular Thinking for Climate Action. So for us, this event really marks a crucial moment in our shared commitment to addressing the pressing challenges posed by climate change with innovative, sustainable solutions, what we call the switchers, those entrepreneurs and innovators and change makers who are actually switching to another kind of economic system, let's say. Yesterday, COP's president called for a no-nonsense approach, not to lose the 1.5 degree target. But what is a no-sense approach in terms of consumption and production patterns? It is certainly represented by an extractivist economy and a theory of value, which privileges profit over the planet and the people. The very same model that today accounts for almost 45% of greenhouse gases, following the reports of the Ellen MacArthur Foundation. In the pages of the working paper mentioned by our director, and that serves a bit as a guide for our today's event, we navigate through the intricate landscape of circular economy principles, sustainable business models, and their profound implication for climate action. The title of today's panel, which is again Circular Thinking for Climate Action, embodies the essence of what we are here to explore, which is actually a needed paradigm shift in our approach toward combating the climate crisis using sustainable consumption and production. For us, circular thinking isn't merely a theoretical construct, but a practical roadmap toward a more sustainable and resilient future. As mentioned also by our UNEMAP coordinator, Ms. Tatiana Ema, the global economy stands at a critical juncture, with the circular economy merely contribute to 7.2% to the global economy. Yet the urgency of the climate crisis demands a radical transformation in our economic system. We all agree with that. Today, our discussion will not only unravel the challenges, let's say, hindering widespread circular adoption, but also spotlight the potential it holds to drive systemic decarbonization across different sectors. This is what our working paper is actually about. It's not just about understanding, of course, it's about identifying actionable pathways toward a regenerative and decarbonized future. The analysis into key domains where climate-positive business models can have a substantial impact revealed that sectors such as food, as mentioned also by Mr. Mastroianni, construction, energy, and mobility in the Mediterranean region should be prioritized. By adopting circular principles, this sector could reduce their carbon footprint, of course. However, the challenges in the adoption of circular business model, particularly by SMEs, by small and medium enterprises, identified in the working paper should be addressed and should be urgently addressed. Aligned with this circular vision, sustainable business models, such as the one we have today, thanks to Mr. Mazza to be here, prioritize long-term resilience by innovating in design, supply chains, and customer engagement, also reducing environmental footprints at all levels. Yet transitioning to a circular economy presents challenges such as labor practices, equity consideration, and economic constraints, often overlooked but critical, of course, in this process. So addressing this demands a systemic approach, possibly, in our vision, led by green and social entrepreneurship. This sustainable business model in their innovation not only generate economic value, but also foster environmental and social benefits, transforming not only products, but also the underlying business structure. In the next few minutes, we have the privilege of hearing from experts who have delved deep into the nuances of circular thinking and its real-world application. Unfortunately, Dr. Magnus Berkenstone is not here and cannot participate due to high fever he got this afternoon, but we have here Professor Rimayadi, who is the founder and president of the Euro-Mediterranean Economists Association, a regional think tank that serves as a leading independent and innovative policy research institution. Professor Ayadi is an economist and international academic, expert on international business and specifically financial systems. We have online Dr. Oriana Romano, who is the head of unit Water Governance and Circular Economy, Urban Policies and Sustainable Development Division of the OECD Center for Entrepreneurship, SMEs, Region and City. She leads indeed the OECD program on circular economy in cities and region, which she created in 2018. And we have also with us Mr. Guillermo Mazza, who is an environmental engineer and social entrepreneur, and the co-founder and CEO of an enterprise called Refuse, who is based actually in Beirut, in Lebanon, and he offers community-based solid waste management service by Medwest as well through the Switcher Support Program. Thank you for being here. I'd like to start with a first question for Professor Ayadi. From an economic and business perspective, Professor, what challenges and opportunities arise when transitioning to circular business model?
Amb l'aplicació d'un sistema d'economia circular.
Hola, ahora. Hello. It doesn't work.
We try the other.
1 second, please.
Hello. Hola, ahora. It's a bit like I am in a tunnel. Hello. Should I go there? I can shout a bit. Hear me? I mean, that's what we do when we teach. Shout out. First of all, you hear me or not? Yes?
Test. 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 Check. Check. Checking. Check. 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 It's on. Checking. Checking. Check. 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 What? Sorry? Is the podium mic working? Yeah, the podium mic is working fine. The podium mic is working fine. Check. Check. And check. 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 So going to the main PA. The monitors, they are on, but it's not coming into the monitors. Check. 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 I don't know what's happening. Check. 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 Testing. Check. Testing. Check. Testing. Testing. Check. 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 Check.
Is this? Yeah. Okay. Please, Rim. I mean, if you can stand up.
No.
Okay, thank you first for the invitation. I heard the comment of Gramenos, and I think it's important this to transit to circular economies very fast, because in fact the research is already moving into regenerative economies, and regenerative much more, I would say, ambitious than simply trying to harm less when we develop the economic processes. So in fact, for the first time, I must say that research has been, in the forefront, advancing very fast in terms of understanding what makes an economy regenerative and how to accelerate these regenerative principles while ensuring that we can not only restore but also regenerate ecosystems and connect with all the communities for well-being of all. And this is also in line with what Gramenos
No,
was talking about.
També la línia del que deia el
So
Pep.
another thing is also to ensure that
Nosaltres
our
també
actions that are not
garantir
only
que les nostres
reducing
accions
the
no només
they are not only reducing the harm of what we do in our economic
No només
systems, but
el-
also to improve and revive the environment and the systems around us. So we think more in a positive manner rather than in reducing the cost of our actions. Now, you asked me on what are the challenges to move or to transit to circular business models, not only from the economic actor standpoint, but also from the finance. But then the finance, I take it separately, because finance should be facilitating really the processes and then taking a proactive action to ensure that the economic actors are moving quicker into circular type of business models, and later on regenerative business models. So still there are challenges, and we know it. First of all, the initial investment cost, who is taking care of that? Because in fact, shifting to a circular model, particularly when an economy or a business is already using certain business practices, it costs a lot of money. And this requires, in fact, upfront investment. So somebody has to take it. For example, in terms of new technologies, infrastructure, and process redesign. I think these are all aspects that, in fact, need to be taken into consideration when you want to transit. So there is a role for the public sector to move into this type of economies. So it means that they put the money to develop this infrastructure. But also in terms of subsidies, in terms of tax policies, in terms of other type of incentives for the sector. And the second thing in terms of the challenge is also the complex value chains, and also in terms of the, I would say, the science behind. So you see, when we do certain businesses, it has to be to the point, simple. So we have our economic models are based on extraction, are based on certain type of old models that are prevailing. They make money already. So why to change? Because then you will make much less margins, and then you might not even understand the supply chain over time, and this really makes it much more complex in terms of what are the logistics to recycle, to reuse, to manage, how to manage these complexities. Complexities increase cost, and this nobody wants to take it into consideration, because it reduces your margins. And then when you reduce your margins, of course, if you are rated, then it might impact your rating. If you are in the market, you are giving dividends to shareholders, the shareholders will take less. So in fact, we still have a model that is based on maximizing shareholder value. So when you increase cost without really having more opportunities in terms of recovering, then it becomes much more complex. So you have other aspects also related to the regulations. Sometimes they are not consistent in many aspects. So you need to look at the consistencies, and also sometimes they can even impede the move into circular types of models. And then, as Gramenos mentioned, the demand, we still need to have a demand to educate the demand. So then there is a kind of higher demand for certain products, and especially this product have to be competing in terms of price with other products. So still business models are not mainstreamed. They are still in a way nice to look at, but yet they are not mainstream. And again, the competition in the market still for the normal product that we get, they are cheaper, and then they have probably more I mean, in terms of technology, in terms of innovation, they are still very developed. So this is also something to take into consideration. Now, opportunities you mentioned. So there are opportunities in the long run, for sure. And then if we move into a context which is much more circular and regenerative, this has to be really pushed as much as possible by the policies and by the regulatory framework. So then you really give incentives as much. And also the financial sector has a role to play. Instead of funding projects that are not circular or regenerative, they need to reallocate the resources. But I can tell you that the financial sector is not ready to do it because for them it's about stability of the technologies. It's about what's in there to make money in the short run, not thinking of a long run that you never know. And then this also is not aligned with the models that have been in place. So these are the points that I wanted to share, but we can continue the discussion.
Thank you very much, Rim, and sorry for the logistics. You just touched on policy. We have with us, let's say, Dr. Oriana Romano, and my next question is actually for her. How can policymakers effectively integrate circular economy principles into climate policies? And which is the role of context-sensitive, localized approaches?
Thank you. Thank you very much, Alessandro. I hope you can hear me well. Yes?
Yes, I can.
Great, thank you. We had some technical issues, that's why I was double checking. Thank you very much to MetWaves for inviting me to this very interesting debate. I'm very pleased to contribute to a session that is titled Circular Thinking for Climate Action, as the issue is very much that the circular economy is not an end per se, but it's a mean to an end. And one of the end is definitely climate, environmental related goals. Allow me to respond to your question through 3 quick messages that I would like to share for this debate. The first message is that we tend to forget that actually 50% of global emissions are related to the mismanagement of material and resources. Materials management activities are directly or indirectly responsible for a significant share of greenhouse gases emissions in OECD countries, specifically. To mention our work. By 2060, the total emissions are projected to reach 75 gigaton of CO2 equivalent, of which materials management would constitute approximately 50 gigaton of CO2 equivalent. So basically, global material use is projected to more than double by 2060. Now, the circular economy represents an opportunity. It has been mentioned waste several times, but we have to be careful with that the circular economy is not a synonym of optimizing waste management, as it was rightly said, is not a synonym of recycling, but really can have an important focus on system thinking in many areas that, for example, are very important for cities, and in particular for the use of resources of material. I'm thinking about steel, I'm thinking about aluminium, cement, and food that has been mentioned before. And working on these areas could achieve a reduction of a total of 9.3 billion tons of greenhouse gases emission by 2050. So there is a significant opportunity to potentially reduce emission through effective material management policies, eco-design, reuse, and of course these measures would involve a number of actors and levels of government. Now, the second point that I want to make very quickly is that the problem is not technical or technological. Technical solutions are there. The problem is how to make it happen. What are the governance conditions for doing so? So in 2020, we worked with more than 50 cities from OECD and non-OECD countries. And basically, the challenges echoes those that have been just mentioned, but just to say that the major constraints and challenges were related to regulatory, financial, and capacity constraints for more than 70 of the cities that we have worked with. Funding was also highlighted as not to be sufficient, but also lack of awareness, lack of culture that is more related to preventing waste, use resources more efficiently, and reuse them in the long run. So making sure that things and products and services are actually used as long as possible and kept in the economy as long as possible. Also, the circular economy in cities is somehow an emerging concept. Out of 50 cities that we worked with, only 30% had already kind of circular economy initiatives in place. So there is a lot of room for improvement. And my third and final message when it comes to cities and regions, so local government in particular, is that of course the circular economy is a shared responsibility across the levels of government, but also across the stakeholders, so ecosystems that can be created in a city. I'm talking about university and research centers, I'm talking about business sectors divided in big players, but also SMEs and startup. And important when it comes to making sure that this system is working is that not only the condition for starting up pilot and experimentations have to be put in place, but also those that would allow them to be scaled up. It is, for example, necessary for cities and regions to promote markets for reused and repurposed material. Recycled materials remain very costly, so cities and regions can help to change this by providing stronger support and incentives for consumers and firms in using the secondary product. And they have an important tool that they can use, public procurement. In the European Union alone, public procurement accounts for 14% of GDP. So tendering process nowadays should nurture new circular business model in transport, in building and catering service, also to overcome what Professor was mentioning before, the risk, the financial risk of trying to piloting and experimenting new business models, for which one of the problem is the lack of demand. So thank you very much for the attention and happy to contribute further to the debate.